But if the president goes to disturb peace of Kenyans who are going on with their own things, he should be arrested and arraigned in court. Things on the ground are different. Vitu kwa ground is different. That is the question. Things on the ground are different. He's still living, he's still operating the way he was when he was a deputy. He had somebody to pass the buck, that Uhuru Kenyatta is not performing. Uhuru Kenyatta has failed. If I were in that position, I would have done better. Now, he has nobody to pass the buck. The blame, the success, squarely land on his feet. What gives him the idea that he can do as he wishes? This is not his personal house, this is not so going. I think the president needs to stop being simplistic.
Is there a vacuum post-Raila?
Play one clip where Ruto has spoken truthfully.
If it's Thursday, you know it's Philip Kisia Unscripted. Here with Philip Kisia, leadership and governance expert, former Nairobi town clerk. A man who doesn't mince his words. If it's a spade, he calls it a spade. If the truth shall kill them, he says, let them die. He will not filter himself for the sake of corrupt individuals, people that know they're doing it wrong and do not want to correct themselves. This is a policy of Philip Kisia, changing this country for the better. Our conversations help leaders in making better policy decisions and informed political moves, all for the benefit of this country. Our conversation today is about President William Ruto. It's becoming difficult for him to speak in different meetings in public because he's getting heckled. His meetings are getting disrupted, forcing Kithure Kindiki, the internal CS, to come out strongly, warn people against this heckling. In fact, arresting those who have been heckling President William Ruto. It has happened in Mount Kenya, it has happened in Bomet, it has happened in Kericho, it has happened in Meru. Will this come to an end, and what does this mean? Philip Kisia, thanks for making time for us once again. I'm so glad that you're joining us. In case we don't say it, people tell me, Uyo Kisia asiache kukuja, make sure he's seated on that seat for the benefit of this country. So, welcome on set, Kisia.
Thank you, Jed. Happy to be here as usual, and thank you for the cup of tea. You know, nowadays when you pay somebody a visit or you, in whatever form, I think, and you offered a cup of tea.
Yeah.
The taxes that have gone into this thing is... it is not a joke, man.
Yeah, ingekuwa wakati wa Kibaki, maybe tungeweka kuku. But we're in difficult times.
Yeah.
But what have you noticed this week? What has struck your mind? How has the week been for you?
Well, I think the week has been, fairly okay with the challenges that we've now gotten used to working with. But really what struck me today, I think it was today, my good friend and president, my president, our president, made a statement that really got me worried. He actually said that he's going to interrogate the budget, the Kenyan, not his personal budget, but our national budget for the fiscal year 2025-2026. And I said, I really got worried.
Why? He's supposed to...
Because see, a national budget is not a small matter. There's a process of formulating a budget. And here we have a CEO of a huge multinational corporation or a country called Kenya who wants to thoroughly interrogate this budget. I respect him and I admire his determination to go to that extent. But you see, the question that I was asking myself, what expertise does my president have in terms of budget formulation, budget interrogation? He is not an economist. And even somebody like our late president, my president, Emeritus Mwai Kibaki, would not have made an attempt to, go into the in-depth interrogation of a budget to weed out corrupt cartels and budgets that have been corruptly formulated. I would have thought that my president has extremely competent people at the Treasury who ensured that the budget-making process followed the laid-down regulations, the procedures that have been laid down as per the Constitution and in line with the Finance Act. and that it was thoroughly interrogated by all the stakeholders. And now that of course, it will be presented to the Parliamentary Budget Committee to further interrogate and find out whether those budgeted corruptions really appear there. So I don't know whether my president was really serious or he knew what he was talking about, because he should avoid making statements that don't make sense.
So you're saying
because if he's saying that I'll sit down and go through this budget, interrogate, where will he get the time? Where can he get it? A whole president. And you see, worse of it is that he has no expertise. For heaven's sake, where will he get this expertise? Where will he get the time? So that is why it's important to have institutions working for you, like Kibaki did. Kibaki just made sure that he had competent people, people who worked for him. And then, of course, what they did in the Grand Coalition government was to have subcommittees of cabinet. So the budget would have been taken to the subcommittee of cabinet to further interrogate. After going through the process, they interrogate further, they ask questions, and then they really clean it up before it is presented to cabinet. So I think there's a lot that my president can learn from the previous administrations. I know he doesn't have too much regard for Uhuru Kenyatta, but at least Kenyatta allowed professionals to work for him.
Does this show
he's a one-man show, and I'm really scared, because the pressure the man is putting on himself, he'll end up collapsing in office.
I'm asking, does
touch wood, touch wood, touch wood. Touch wood is my president and my friend.
Does he show that he lacks confidence in the cabinet? And
of course, you see, Jed, when you have appointed people and they're competent, and you go and make a public statement to the effect that you have no faith in the work they've done for you, what message are you passing across? You're actually in effect saying that these people are useless. I made a mistake appointing them. But since you are the appointing authority, why can't you get rid of them and get people competent to work for you, so that you can focus on the bigger picture? The man has so many things to do in a day, in a month, in a year. But he's getting bogged down in things that are so trivial.
What is the danger in micromanagement? Because now he has a cabinet secretary for finance, there is Parliament Budget Committee, there's this whole, PSs, and they even want to put CSs to work, but he wants to deal with all this.
Let me tell you, when you micromanage, nothing moves. It is as simple as that. When you make any attempt to micromanage a huge institution, nothing will move. Because one, you demotivate people. People now start drawing back. They wait for you to make the decision. Okay? So they will not give you their best, because they know no matter what they do, you will end up still doing what they're supposed to do. So then, the attitude would be, why not just allow him to do the job anyway? Let him do it.
So this could be the attitude in cabinet.
Anywhere. It's human. This is human. It's not about cabinet. It's human. It's human nature. When you have given people a job to do, you are delegating. When you delegate, you also delegate with the authority to do the job. Now, if you are keeping the authority, then you can as well do the job. Don't even appoint those people. Just be the cabinet. Just make sure, we are saying that we allowed a minimum 14 and a maximum of 22. Maybe you should just be alone.
Ruto as cabinet.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this difficulty that he has now. He was, I think, in Kericho, where Governor Eric Mutai was booed off stage. We saw the same thing in Bomet. We saw the same thing in Kiambu, actually forcing the deputy president to come out in his defense and say, "Mnatuaibisha mbele ya mfalme," remember that? And it seems not to end after that. It seems like every meeting the president will attend in public rallies, they are going to boo someone, they're going to find a way of booing. But it's very difficult to know why, because when these governors have their own meetings, these disruptions do not happen. They only happen when the president is there. What does this show about the respect Kenyans have for the president and the deputy president?
Jed, I watched that video in disbelief. Because, you know, President Ruto is our president. He is a symbol of hope, the symbol of national unity, the symbol of everything. Okay? So when I saw my president being heckled in his backyard, I really got worried.
Let's just watch that video.
Watch that video.
Mambo yetu kama viongozi hawa wananchi walimaliza wakati wa uchaguzi. Mambo ambayo iko sasa ni mambo ya wananchi. Mtu asituletee hapa umaarufu yake, akiapigiwa makofi na mwingine apigiwe kelele. Hiyo ni mambo ya ujinga. Wapate kazi, watu wetu wafanye kazi.
Kwa sababu nilisikia iko maneno kidogo ya nyumbani. Hiyo hapana, kiongozi akiwa hapa. Hiyo mnangoja rais anaondoka, kwa sababu lazima tuchunge heshima ya rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Na hatungetaka aibu itokee hapa nyumba.
You're worried, Kisia. Why?
I'm a worried man. Because if the same had happened in Kondele, or in Nyanza, or in Western, or maybe in Masaku, or in places where the people didn't vote for him, they voted for Raila, I would have said, you know, I mean, what do you expect? Those fellows never voted for him anyway. But these are people who voted for him to the last man about 18 months ago. 18 months later, they're heckling him. But even before, Jed, we understand why, or we interrogate that incident in Bomet and Kericho, I think it's important, first of all, to understand why were people heckling. Okay? And then we don't want to appear as if we all the time keep on crying. We most want to suggest on how can he deal with the issues of heckling. And then, of course, now we come into this issue of Bomet and Kericho. We try and look at it and understand what really motivated these people to do. Were they instigated? Were they people who were exported or imported? You know, we need to look at that one, you know, because in politics you bring your own people.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm surprised that this time round they didn't blame Uhuru Kenyatta, that Kenyatta must have brought in people to heckle. Then, of course, then we want to look at this draconian rule or law that Professor Kindiki is attempting to bring. Okay?
Yeah.
So why would people heckle? People heckle because they are dissatisfied, right? People heckle because most probably you promise something and you have failed to deliver. Or in fact, or again, you are still over-promising. That you promised, you have not delivered, you've come again, you are promising over another promise. Okay? In this case, I can think of things like, you know, and he sold his narrative and people bought. He said, Nikweka Biblia chini, the cost of living will just come down automatically, the cost of fuel, the cost of food, and, you know, we shall be back in a paradise. The pain that you are feeling under my boss, Uhuru Kenyatta, will disappear immediately I put down that Bible. And people bought his narrative. Then, instead of doing what you promised, you are doing the opposite. You are burdening them with heavy taxation. The life has become unbearable. Of course, you know, now they get agitated. You know, they get furious. That is the same man who is addressing us. You know, so they get restless. And there's nothing you can do because they are restless. And unfortunately for him, these people are insulated by the constitution. People are allowed to picket. People are allowed to make noise. People are allowed to be happy. And in that case, I think they're probably not heckling. These are people who are celebrating. Either they are celebrating or they are mourning that something has gone wrong, you know. So why would you... So if I were President Ruto, first of all, I would empathize with these people who are crying. These people are heckling. And understand why. What is the problem? Why are they heckling me? Are they just heckling? Because maybe somebody later on will tell them, no, they are not heckling. They are actually celebrating you. So try and understand, empathize. The other thing that you can do, don't try and be defensive. In that, you know, don't start shouting at them, talking down to them. Try and, you know, bring down yourself to their level. and engage them in a civilized manner. Don't talk at them, because you actually make it worse. You even annoy them. You know, these are human beings, and there are many. They are already annoyed, and you are trying, you know, to address them in a very derogatory way. They are bound to hit back. So those are some of the things that you know, my president can do when faced with that situation. But if you look at Bomet, how did he react? He told them, no, you don't make noise. You are the ones who elected these people. You have a chance to remove them in 2027. So what he was telling them, people are already in pain. They're already, you know, they're suffering. But you are telling them, you bear with that pain, whether you like it or not, until 2027. So you have 3 more years to go through pain. You don't tell somebody who's going through pain that, you know, don't worry.
Yeah.
You have 2 more, 3 more years, persevere that pain, and a savior would come. You can actually propose, you can put it in a different way. For example, you can tell them that we could have made mistakes and got the wrong leaders. By the way, do you know that you can recall these people? It is within your powers to recall these people. By the way, did you know that if these people are not performing, this is the action that you can take against them? Do you know that you don't have to wait for 2027? So empathize with them. But don't start talking down on them.
Why do you think?
Because they're bound to do what? They're bound to react in a negative way.
Why do you think the president cannot call out these leaders that are getting booed in his meetings? He's siding with the leaders instead of siding with the people. Why do you think there's that division now? We come to see leaders against the people in this kind of situation. Is it that he knows that has just been paid to heckle in the meetings?
You see, as I said earlier, Jed, you can say this is a paid crowd. Yeah? If it happens anywhere else other than your backyard, that people have been transported. But this is your backyard. I suspect that he knows what is going on. He knows is part of the mistake, because he has more than once reminded us, or reminded the elected leaders, that he is the one who gave them the vote. So this is actually his team. So if there are any mistakes, he is the one who presented the wrong candidates. But you know, he's probably too ashamed to come out openly and say, you know, I made a mistake. I gave you the wrong people to work with, for you to choose, for me to work with. Come 2027, this is action you can take. Or you can even make changes before 27, and this is the route you can take.
Yeah.
Other than somebody like my friend Kindiki, Professor, and I respect him. In fact, he's one of the best performing ministers we have. Most of the times, he's level-headed. Most of the times, he's level-headed. Okay? In fact, I want to play that video, the exit video, when he was being removed from office. Just look for that video and play it.
When he was deputy speaker, they decided to oust him.
Yes, look for that video.
Things like system and deep state and deep what? Mr. Speaker, history is replete with strong, generous, and powerful kings and monarchs who have been brought down by the power of the people. And Mr. Speaker, today I want to remind them of a man called Belshazzar, a man who God favored to be king in the book of Daniel. Instead of being grateful that God has honored you among so many millions of citizens to be their leader, he entertained a government that was so divisive, so oppressive, and he did a big party and called all the important men whose fathers and mothers were important people at that time. And the Bible says he made a feast, and he entertained them in that feast, and even went on to commit sacrilege by using the utensils that had been taken from the temple to commit and drink the drink of fornication using the vessels taken from the temple. Mr. Speaker, as they were enjoying, as they were making merry, as the deep state was celebrating, as the system was celebrating, suddenly, and I say suddenly, there is going to be a war in this country. There is going to be a writing on the wall. Many, Tekel and Parisi.
You can see from the video, Nanijed, the man is emotional. To the point of almost dropping tears. Because it really hit him very hard. He's talking about people misusing power. He's talking about vindictive politics. You know, the man has already spoken well. But now, it is not even 3 years, 4 years, he has forgotten the pain, the personal pain he went through when he was being removed, and democratically, as he has stated in his speech. Okay? He should remember, if anything, Kindiki should be the last person to try and reintroduce laws or regulations that are oppressive. Because he has gone through the pain. So let Kindiki not be expedient in terms of trying to please his boss. He's a man who is properly schooled. He's a man who is properly educated. He is level-headed. He still has a future. Let him not ruin his future for short-term basis, or for short-term gain.
In case you don't know, this is what Kithure Kindiki has done. He has made proposals. He actually has made, 2 people have been arrested because he has called for the arrest and prosecution of these people heckling, including politicians. They're actually on the lookout for people that they think are funding these hecklers. And you're saying he needs to be level-minded. He needs to level with the people. But how do you deal with this state of orderlessness in these meetings? Because action must be taken, and action must be taken now.
Jed, number one, there's need to differentiate between public space and private space. Number one. Number two, the head of state is a public servant. Those are his employers. Your employer can tell you anything.
Yeah?
Yes?
They can heckle you, tell you
your
anything.
employer can tell you anything. If you are tired with the employer, you resign. So these are your employers who are telling you, you have failed us. These are your employers who are telling you, and let me remind my president, that respect is not given, respect is earned. If you want people to respect you, you must respect the people. It is reciprocal. There is no shortcut. It is two-way arrangement. Don't expect to be respected if you are not respecting people. So Kindiki, my good friend, is wasting his time. It's natural the way people react. And I must remind him that you cannot arrest your employer. This is your employer. How can you arrest your employer? Your employer is saying you have failed. What mistake has he made? It doesn't matter in whatever form he's telling. He's your employer. You get the point?
So the people have all
it doesn't matter what it doesn't matter the style, the form that your employer is using. Your employer is telling you, we don't love you. But Kindiki is telling the employer, please love this guy that you have employed. Please respect him. It doesn't happen that way.
If not, you're going to jail.
It is the reverse. So Kindiki should know, and should be the last person, because he's a professor of law, that people are allowed to be happy, people are allowed to demonstrate, people are allowed everything. And then, President Ruto should know that when you stop in a market, or you go to a funeral, or you go to a roadside, that's public space. People are going on with their own things, their own stuff. Then you come and interfere with them. And because you're the president, they want to listen to you. They stop what they're doing. They're involved in some sort of economic activity. You're actually wasting their time. You come and stop in the market or in or something somewhere, yeah? And you're forcing them to listen to you. Then they discover that you are not telling them what they want to hear. That you are reminding them about the pain. These are your employers. They have a right to tell you, please pack off and go away. Go, you see, and you see, if people went to State House and heckled, it's State House. People, Harambe House and heckled, it's different. If they went to his own private premises or in a hotel where he has a meeting, or he has a pitch a tent somewhere, yeah, and they're having a meeting, private meeting, and you go there and heckle, you must be arrested and taken and arraigned in court. But if the president goes to disturb peace of Kenyans who are going on with their own things, he should be unarrested and arraigned in court. Why is Kindiki don't mix issues?
So you're saying Kindiki is forcing people to love the president?
How can Kindiki force people to love the president? You know, love is natural. It comes, it flows. But you can't force a human being. You see, it's like a marriage. When a marriage, you know, is no more and cannot be sustained, you can't force somebody to be that marriage. You cannot. It cannot work. So the question that my president and my friend should be asking himself is, why are people who really loved me, they voted for me in big numbers, why all of a sudden they have so much hate for me? That's the question that my good friend and president should be asking himself. Okay? That's the question he's asking himself. And then you see, the other thing, Jed, is about, you know, when he's reflecting, people, there's something that is disturbing people. The question that my president should be asking himself, is my government delivering for these people? Are we up to speed in what we promised? Because people are not mad just to wake up and start behaving in a certain manner. I think, like, you know, the guys in the Mtaa say, they say, things on the ground are different. Vitu kwa ground is different. That is the question. Things on the ground are different. He's still living, he's still operating the way he was when he was a deputy. He had somebody to pass the buck, that Uhuru Kenyatta is not performing. Uhuru Kenyatta has failed. If I were in that position, I would have done better. Now, he has nobody to pass the buck. The blame, the success, squarely land on his feet.
What does this mean, though, about these regions? That the president is going, you saw in Kiambu what was happening with Wamatangi, in Meru what was happening with Kawera Mwangaza, in Bomet, in Kericho. Does this mean that our leadership is not working in this country? What does this mean about political divisions and governance in this particular region?
You see, let me tell you, you know, there can be political rivalry. That Jed, I was competing against Jed won with a big margin or a small margin. But immediately you take over office and you start delivering and people are feeling you. You know, people forget about your competitor. People now focus on you. But when you get in and you continue failing and you don't even deliver on your promises, people are bound to react negatively. So from where I'm sitting, I think people are just reacting. Yeah, that the performance indicators are so poor that these people are not working. The only thing that the Mwananchi is seeing is that they are buying new suits, they are buying new cars, others are marrying more wives, and you know, they're sending their children abroad. That's what Mwananchi is seeing, and that is bound to increase the level of anger. The people are just boiling. In fact, I would hate to say that if we don't tame this anger, if we are not careful, if this government is not careful, we may end up in a civil disobedience. Because that is how it starts, defying people in leadership. It starts in a very small way. Then it goes full-blown, and you'll be unable to contain it. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter whether you bring the 101,000 police officers that we have. It doesn't matter whether you bring 40,000 you know, the defense force that you have, Kenya Defense Forces. These are 150,000 fellows. They cannot match over 50 million Kenyans. So what is the remedy? The remedy we have, Jed, is for them to do the job that they have been given. There's no other remedy.
And the heckling will just stop.
It will stop. Let me tell you, you deliver. Do you think people are stupid? Do you think people have time to waste on heckling? They're heckling because they have nothing to do. They're heckling because they're, you know, they are getting impatient. They're heckling because you promise you're not delivering. They are just angry.
Then this heckling, does it help in any way? Because there are other avenues of dealing with, of holding leaders accountable, you know. So you are heckling, will it help? What civic education must be done?
Let me tell you, I agree with you.
Yeah.
even before we get to civic education. But it is actually prescribed in the Constitution. People are allowed to picket, people are allowed to demonstrate, and it is not defined. I can be shouting, I can be dancing. It's a way of picketing or a way of demonstrating. You can't tell me, it's not defined, you can't tell me that the only way you can demonstrate is by walking in silence. It is one way, one form. But if I want to shout and call you names and do whatever and dance and hit drums and what have you, it is a way allowed in our Constitution.
To send a
so
message.
you see, we must live with it. We must live with what we agreed. Okay? And I say, Jed, there is no other shortcut. The remedy is for you to deliver on your mandate. Just do your job. Do the job you've been given. And all these things you see will disappear.
As simple as that.
It's as simple as that.
Is there anything else that people should learn or continue heckling?
In fact,
in terms of
you bring up this thing of civic education. It is so important. And successive governments have avoided civic education. They think if they educate the masses, they'll become smarter, they'll give them more problems. In fact, somebody who has been educated in whatever form is better than somebody who doesn't have knowledge. Because see, somebody who is educated will know these are the type of leaders that we must put in office. I will elect this person not because he comes from the same tribe, religion, or what have you as my cousin. I will elect him because he has these following qualities and he or she can do the job. Okay? That these are my rights. That this is how I should behave. That if this person is unable to deliver on the promises that we had agreed on, that this is the avenue I have. Other than heckling, which is allowed, the other forms of dealing with that person.
Yes.
Either you can be patient and wait until the next election cycle, or you can recall. So I think there is need for future governments, and maybe President Ruto can start investing in civic education. It will make life very easy. For example, when the changing dynamics within the external operating environment, you know, global changes that are affecting either our politics or our economies, when you have an educated populace, they can understand. When you're engaging them, they can understand, yeah, okay, the price of fuel or crude oil is going up because this and this has happened. But when they don't have knowledge, they will deal with you. They will only remember one thing. You promised to bring that fuel down to 100 bob. So that's what they're waiting. So let them not even celebrate about the 7 shillings that they have given us from 117 or 19 down to around 200 something. You know, people don't understand. People are waiting for fuel for 100 bob.
So educate masses, avoid all this.
Masses. Don't fear dealing with an educated populace. It is for your own good. You make life easy for you. You can engage them. You can explain to them. So that even when Jade is coming to talk to them and try and peddle lies, things that are not truthful, they will know and they can see you through their eyes because they understand.
All right.
Yeah.
What is your message to President William Ruto? You've said the long-term solution is to work, to deliver for the people. But what is your message to him? Because it's clearly embarrassing. I'm actually embarrassed every time I see him trying to deal with these crowds, trying to tell them to lower their voices, to keep quiet. This is his meeting. What is his message for him? Because now they've arrested 2 suspects in this heckling thing, and they're going to arrest more.
He has 50 million people to arrest. So he's wasting his time. That's number 1. Number 2, we have a constitution that protects, that allows people to picket and demonstrate. So he's wasting his time. In fact, these people should go, once they go to court and the courts pronounce themselves, they should sue the government. But what can President Ruto do? Because he's my friend, and I want him to succeed. Number 1, he should stop imagining that he can do all the jobs or the job by himself. Let him sit down and appoint a competent team of people in different spheres. People who will help him in this is the time actually now start dropping, if I'm advising. This is the time to start dropping the cronies that he has. This is the time now to say, I pay the political debt, I gave you a chance, you have failed me. This is the time for me, allow me to work. Okay? Because I gave you a chance. I paid my debt. But you, instead of reciprocating, you've gone to sleep. Or you're just involved in corruption. So he has the best opportunity to clean up his team, get a team of people. He may not love those people. And you see, it is not about love, Jed. It's about getting the job done. So if our President William Ruto, this is the time. Actually, before we get into the new budget, financial year, 1st of July, if I were him, I'll get rid of all those non-performing fellows, cronies, relatives, tribesmen, and what have you, and get a good team of Kenyans to help him deliver on his mandate. Otherwise, we are headed towards a civil disobedience, whether he likes it or not. He has over 50 million people to deal with.
So as President William Ruto is weeding out budgeted corruption, he needs to deal with this hecklers and deal with them by working for them.
Let him, there's no shortcut, Jed. Let just my president appoint a team, and do what Kibaki did. Once we are clear on what you're supposed to do, sign for me here, go back to State House and sit and relax.
All right, thank you for tuning in to this conversation. You can go back to State House, sit and relax if you just deliver. Till we do talk again, thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a lovely rest of your day.